When you create a table in Microsoft Word, whether you draw the table, insert a brand new table, or even convert text to a table like we did in the previous lesson, inside the table, as long as your cursor's there, you'll notice that you have a number of design and layout options on the ribbon appearing under the Table Tools heading. So we're going to take a look at how we can spice this table up. The default is, as you can see, a single black line for each of the rows and columns. So all of the cells look exactly the same, maybe different widths, but that's about it. So with your cursor anywhere in the table, you can now go to, for example, some table styles. As you hover over these table styles, you're going to see a live preview. In this case, you can see there's a lighter grid than the default, which has a much darker grid. Or maybe you want every second row to be highlighted. That's an option using Plain Table 1. And as you hover over these, I kind of like Plain Table 2, where we don't actually see the separators for the columns or the borders on the left and right of the table. That's kind of interesting. Some tables are going to use header rows and have columns down the left-hand side used as header columns. As we move over to Plain Table 4, you can see we don't have any grid at all, but we do have some shading. And click this drop-down, and there's quite a bit to choose from, including some color-coded ones. So as we hover over those, we're going to see in the background a live preview as well. I'm going to go to this green one down here, Grid Table 6, Colorful Accent 6, and give it a click. Now in this case, we don't really need a header row. A header row is typically going to be titles, for example, unless we wanted to add a row that would say quantity and maybe description on the right, but I think it's fine just the way it is. So we can go up here to the ribbon and deselect header row, and that will affect the formatting. Without the header row, you'll see that it goes to simple formatting with alternating rows of green shading according to the style we selected. That's the banded rows we see. Now, at first you don't like those. You can turn that off and see what it looks like. I like the banded rows, kind of separates the rows, makes it a little easier to read. And first column, you can see it's all bolded here as if these were titles, but we don't really need a first column either, so we can deselect that checkbox. If you want to change the shading, now we're totally getting away from the table style we selected, but you can go to maybe a lighter green if you wanted to. Notice what's happening. It's only the cell that your cursor's in. So if you want to change the entire table shading, then you would go to the table itself. In the top left corner, you're going to see this little icon, the four-cornered arrow. Give it a click, and your entire table is now selected. And of course, you do get some tools at your disposal here in the Quick Tools dialog, but we don't really want any of those. We're going to go up to Shading now. And now as we hover over, you can see what's happening. The entire table is affected. So we lose our banded rows if we go this route. But you do have that option, and you can go to standard colors, theme colors, and more colors if you want to go to the 16 million colors you can choose from. Also, we can make changes to our border styles. So if we click the drop down for border style, you can see it's solid right now, but we could go to a double line if we wanted to. We could go to colors. I'm going to go to the double line color. As you can see now, we have this border painter that allows us to go around the border, painting exactly what we want. There we go. We've got the double there, double there. We'll go all the way around, clicking and dragging from one corner to the next. Perfect. Now that's the pen color that can also be adjusted. You can see the size or width of our line could also be adjusted if we wanted to. But let's just leave it at that. And now we'll just go up here to the top left corner and click outside the table to see what that looks like. Very interesting. A lot of formatting options at your disposal here in Word 2013. Let's click inside the table again. We get the Design tab back. We also get a Layout tab, and it's from here where we can start doing things like viewing grid lines and table properties, drawing tables and erasing. Here's where we can go to insert rows and columns. So let's click anywhere in the first row, and let's say we do want a header row. We can insert above. When you choose Insert Above, there's a new row, and it appears just above our flashing cursor. And at this point, we might want to make this a header row. So let's go back to the Design tab. And now we can turn on Header Row. And if we wanted to, we can type in things in these cells. And it's going to be formatted a little differently than the rest of the table. Type in quantity. Notice it's bolded. Hit your Tab key to move to the next cell and type in description. There you go. Let's go back to Layout now for a second. So you know that there are a number of other options. such as splitting and merging cells, changing the width and height, distributing rows and columns, things we're going to talk about as we move through the various movies in this chapter. For now, you can see we have a nice looking table. It's been reformatted to make it a little bit easier to read and match the rest of our document.